What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hardworking Happy Hour. I'm Sean.
And I'm Catherine, and as always, we'll be breaking down all things trades, entrepreneurship, and turning your creativity into a passion career. Hey, Sean.
What's up, Catherine? How you doing?
I'm doing so good. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing excellent. I could not possibly be any better.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
It's really quite something to behold. It's a beautiful day. I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving.
Oh, my gosh. I guess I am as well.
Are you also thankful?
God, I'm so thankful
If
for
we
everything.
can't be thankful for the little things, then how are we going to be thankful for the big things?
I
guess that doesn't really make sense. It's easy to be thankful for the big things because they're big things. But anyway, how you making out? Pretty good? Pretty good?
Pretty good.
Good to hear. Well, this week we got a bit of a special episode. We've got a guest we're going to have on Working with Matt.
You might know him from the Instagrams. He's all over the place there. He's a good follow, and he's got a pretty interesting story.
He does?
He's a lifer in the outdoor living field.
Yeah.
Is that how you'd say that?
I don't know. You made it sound like he's in prison serving some sort of life sentence.
He is, yeah.
He's a lifer. Oh my God, it feels that way sometimes with working and jobs.
Well, I just mean if he, like,
we're in a prison of our own creation, Catherine.
No, stop.
Oh, we're not.
Stop.
We're
No.
not. We're free to leave it. Okay. Perfect.
Exactly.
Okay.
We all enjoy this. We love it here.
We love it here. Okay.
No, I just mean his first job. Like, you know.
And his current job, yeah. It's all he's ever known. It's all he's ever known. Yeah. Okay, I get it now. Now I understand the cultural reference. So he's also local to us from South Jersey. I've known him for, I don't know, I probably met him almost 10 years ago now. They're very similar, has recently started doing a lot of content, but he's also running a pretty sizable operation with a partner and also doing content on the side. So he's got a lot of interesting things to say, and it's an interesting story and an interesting way that he's approaching business and just his journey up to this point. So I think you are all really going to enjoy this. So if you enjoy this podcast, please, while you're listening right now, hit follow on that podcast platform you're listening on. And if you have a minute, leave us a review. It really helps. We're trying to put a lot more effort into the podcast, and
share it with all your friends. Tell everybody you know about it.
Well, you can't tell people to do too much. All right. Well, if we're going to do that, also send us some money in the mail or something. Now, if you could just follow and leave a review, let's keep it simple for the people. Now they're overwhelmed.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're right.
But while you're at it, if you're feeling real grateful and real generous, this isn't going to come out till
Thanksgiving, people. Come on.
Thanksgiving has already happened in this world that we're living in.
God,
Thanksgiving is in 2 days, but this will come out after Thanksgiving. But if you're feeling thankful still, do us that little favor. We'd appreciate it. Do us that little favor. Okay.
Without further ado, let's get into the episode. Working with Matt. Here we go.
All right. What is going on? Matt, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Catherine, how you making out?
Oh, pretty good. Excited about this episode. This is like
absolutely.
This is like a hometown episode for us.
It really is.
South Jersey kids hanging out together.
Representing.
We were thinking about doing it in person because we all live like within 20 minutes of each other, but we figured, we got the internet. Let's just do it on the internet. This is way better. I'm more comfortable in my little home lair here, where I can. I just feel more comfortable here. So, I've really just become cozy here with my little mic and my Coke Zero. So we got Matt, Working with Matt, on the show today. What's going on? I feel like a lot of people probably know you through Instagram. If they're not familiar, Matt has, what do you got now? I just checked, but I forget, 189,000 followers?
Yes, sir.
189,000 followers. So you might be one of them. But what we really want to kind of start off with here, you do have an interesting story. We've kind of known each other I don't really remember how we met, but I've known you since way before that, before we were doing YouTube or really, a lot of our social media stuff. And you started out with landscaping. Let's talk a little bit about kind of how you started out. I know you started in high school and kind of starting your own business, and then we'll get into kind of what you're doing now and that whole transition.
All right. So we did meet in a trailer at a garden center in the back. I'm not going to name drop unless you want to.
Oh, yeah. Okay, now I remember. Yeah.
And because for people that don't know, Sean and I have mutual friends. So they basically introduced us, and then we actually got to meet in person. And yeah, that was I don't even know, 6, 7, 8 years ago. That was way before Instagram, way before me on social media or anything like that. I think you were on Instagram, just starting out, but
yeah, it was probably like 2017. Now that I think of it, and it was in like the office of the garden. It met inside a trailer in the back of a garden center. Sounds weird. It was like,
well, yes, it was
the wholesale department of a nursery in the office, and yeah, now I remember that. Okay. So, yeah, that was back when you were sole owner of your own company. So kind of like tell us just a little bit about that, how you started, and kind of what you grew that into, and then we'll transition into your transition to where you're at now.
Okay. So when I was in high school, I think junior year, they switched us over to block scheduling. So I forget how it worked now, but basically instead of having 8 classes, we had 4. So my spring semester or summer semester, whatever you want to call it, there was like a block that I had open. It was called free space or whatever. So I intentionally designed it to be the first class in the morning so that I could cut grass or do estimates or whatever while all my buddies were in school. And then I'd go in, I think around 9 or 10, and take the remaining 3 classes, and then after school meet them and continue doing work. So I originally started cutting like my neighbor's lawns, and then a buddy that Sean and I have mutual friends with started helping me in the summertime, and he was a year older than me, so he got his license before me. So I bought a little trailer and a little 36-inch mower, and we would go around cutting grass. And then as the years got on, it got bigger. And then I think, like I said, my junior, senior year, I actually had employees. They would work while I was in school, and then I would meet them on the jobs after. So in the morning, I would set them up, go to school, come back, and then continue on working. We originally started cutting grass and mulching houses. And then as we grew, we kind of got into the patio hardscape world. And then I started doing irrigation because that's what I'm really, truly passionate about. And then, kind of just grew from there.
So you're in high school and you're cutting lawns. Did you start out like, I feel like the story for a lot of people is they started out like, at 13, they're just cutting the neighbors, cutting a few houses in the neighborhood. And then it's just like, kind of spontaneously turns into more of a business. It goes from like, hey, this is just a way to make a couple extra bucks. The only way I know how to, okay, well, I have 5 houses that I cut. Maybe I can get a bigger mower and maybe I can do 10. Is that kind of how it started? Or was it just like you weren't doing any landscaping and then you're like, let's buy a mower, and I'm in 11th grade, 10th grade, whatever. How did that start?
Yeah, that's literally how it happened. So I would cut all my neighbors' houses, and actually one of my neighbors bought like back then I called like a commercial grade 36-inch walk-behind mower. And the deal that I made with him was basically he gave me the mower, and I had to cut his lawn for free, which in my eyes, it's like, all right, I could take the mower and cut twice as many lawns because it was twice the deck size of my push mower. So basically that's kind of how that deal worked out. So yeah, originally it was just the neighbors. And then I got the bigger mower so I could take on a little bit more. And then friends and family and neighbors would spread the word. So I got some houses outside of our neighborhood. And then obviously it kind of goes with anything that those customers started asking, hey, by the way, if you're here, can you weed the beds or trim the bushes or put the mulch down or whatever? And then it obviously, like you said, it just kind of grew from there.
Yeah.
So, like, how many houses are we talking? Like, when you're in high school, how many clients did you have?
When I was in high school, I think I had 2 crews, one mowing crew, one landscape crew. So I was probably mowing around 80 to 100 houses at that time a week.
It's a lot of houses.
That's a lot of houses.
It's a lot of grass.
A lot of grass.
That's a lot of grass. So were you thinking at the time, I'm just thinking of when I was in high school, and I knew that I didn't really want to go to college, but I wasn't doing anything like that at the time. You know, I was just doing like side stuff, you know, always up to something to make a couple bucks. But were you thinking at the time, like, I should just drop out right now? And like, was that like a serious consideration for you? Like, I imagine that you probably knew you weren't going to go to college. Is that accurate?
Yes, very accurate.
Okay. So did you at any point say, like, I really want to drop out? That seems like something that you would probably like approach your parents with, like, I'm going to drop out of high school. And they were probably like, no. Did that ever happen?
Yes.
Okay.
And that
you're
was
going to a fancy private school, right?
yes, that was never on the docket. That was never going to happen. And I fought tooth and nail because, I mean, obviously, you know where we grew up. We, for the most part, grew up in a very prominent middle class or upper class area that, yeah, I made that one up.
Not me. We only lived a couple towns apart, but different.
Right. But what I'm getting at is, compared to most of America,
private school.
Yeah.
I went public.
Anyways, but what I'm saying is every single one of my buddies all went to college. Every single one of them. Like, in our area, it's not frowned upon, but it's frowned upon that you didn't go to college. You didn't go to degree. Like, even when we would like go to the bars or whatever, and they'd be like, "Oh, where do you go to college?" And it's like, "I don't." They would literally just turn away and walk away. Like, college degrees, and as silly as it is, meant a lot. I think now it's starting to mellow out, but back then, yeah, my mom definitely wanted me to go to college. And I always made the joke that, like, Mom, I mean, again, at the time, cash deals, whatever, it's different, but it was like I was making more money sitting in the classroom than the teachers were teaching me, having the guys working. So it's like, these people went to school and got degrees and masters or doctorates or whatever, and they're making whatever, 40, 50. Again, that was a private school, so they don't pay as well as public. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah. So, I mean, going from like cutting grass, you know, it's very similar to how I started out. It was like, I started out a lot later doing it, but it was like, okay, this is an easy, low barrier to entry. I started with just a push mower, and it was like, you know, I could get a couple clients because my now wife's parents knew a bunch of people. My parents knew people. So like, I just got like, you know, probably 10 or 15 clients right off the bat pretty easily. And it's a low barrier of entry. You know, if you can afford to buy a push mower to get started and a weed whacker and a blower, like you can get started. And that's how it started for me as well. And then it does start to kind of snowball. So at what point were you know, when you graduated high school, did it like really start to take off? And what was the high point of that business? And I'm not sure if I totally know when that business kind of transitioned into, you know, now you're partners with somebody. What was that transition like from high school to where you're at now, where you have a partner and you kind of split up the responsibilities and the you know, just the responsibilities and your duties on a day to day?
So yeah, so it started in high school, obviously, and then when I graduated, obviously it was full time. So I would do. It wasn't like I was out cutting every day, but like I would fill in where guys didn't come in, or we need an extra guy on a crew. And then other days I would do estimates. And then obviously after I work, whatever, 10, 12, 14-hour days, then you go into the office and do all the billing. And that's when we did Excel spreadsheets. So it would take me hours to go through what was cut, what wasn't, what we skipped, and then rainy days, so on and so forth. So I would say probably 2 or 3 years after I had the opportunity to take on a large national bank, and in our state. And I took it on. I went out and bought, with all the money that I was making, I went out and bought all these trucks and trailers and equipment to maintain it. And we went about 2 months mulching, fertilizing, mowing, spring cleanups, all that kind of stuff. And then they terminated the contract, which we did some research and found out that they did it with all the brands and all the companies. It wasn't just like a one-off thing, because everything was prorated. So they had a 8-10 month payment schedule that was divided over those months, opposed to all the front end work that was necessary to get started. So that absolutely crushed us. And at that point, I said, screw doing big commercial stuff. I want to focus mostly on residential. And 10, 15 years later, that's still our motto. We do some small commercial, but no national things like that to that extent. So, that basically crushed us. And then we kind of rebuilt it. And then when 2020 happened, everybody was calling, everybody wanted everything done, and it was just overwhelming. And then I had my buddy Mike, same thing. He basically did the opposite of us. So we try to focus on the bigger jobs, the hardscaping, the backyards, the outdoor living, similar to kind of what we do now, where Mike only cut grass and only mulched houses. So all of his customers and all of my customers wanted the backyard and getting away from their family. Obviously, during those times, everyone was cooped up. And then I couldn't do those jobs that I wanted to do because I was dealing with mowing lawns and cutting grass. So we sat down, and at the first year, basically we merged, but it wasn't, we wanted to basically do a year trial. So I think at the time I had 5 trucks, and X amount of trailers and mowers and everything. So I leased him my equipment, and then subcontracted my accounts to him, and then he did vice versa back to me. Everything worked out, and we're 3-4 years in, and basically he manages the office and emails, because he's very, very good at that, and I am horrific at that. And I manage the field and the guys. So basically what you see on social media or Instagram is me showing up at a job, and it's true. I kind of go in, go out, because another truck or another crew's trailer broke down. I got to go swap trucks or tires, or their trimmers broke or whatever. So I'm kind of just all over the place all day long. Yeah.
So up until that point, so you were the sole owner of your business, and then when did this merge happen? Was this was in 2020?
Unofficially, and then more officially 2021. Yeah. 2020 was the trial year, or going into 2021.
Yeah.
Was this the same guy that you did stuff with back in high school, or is this a new guy?
New guy.
Oh, okay.
New guy. But this is somebody that you knew, right? Like, you guys have kind of a long history together where you
so friends? When I was sole owner, he would have customers that would call and want patios or whatever. We didn't do any decks at the time. So whenever he had a job that he couldn't handle, he would call us and we would do it, or I would sub for him or help out or teach his guys So yeah, we had a working relationship for years prior, which worked out great. And again, he's very good at what he does, and he wants nothing to do with what I do, and I want nothing to do with what he does. So it works out nice.
So I think that's a really interesting dynamic to talk about, is having a partner in business, because you hear a lot of really great stories about it where the two people complement each other's skill sets really well and just work really well together. But you also hear a lot of horror stories where it doesn't work out super well. So was there a weird transition period where, both of you are going from completely being in charge of your own companies to now, partnering up? Was that a tough transition for either of you? Was there things that you had to work through? Was there communication styles that you had to get accustomed to just make sure that everything was out in the open and you didn't have issues kind of popping up under the surface?
Yes, and I am 1,000% to blame for it. Actually, it's funny. I think I still have the email that he basically talked to his wife over the end of the season or whatever, and was just like, I can't work with Matt anymore. Like, this isn't working out. We're done. Because, and again, I'll take full responsibility that it is different when you have final say in everything, going from that to kind of trying to work things out. So I have my way of doing things. He has his way of doing things. He has, again, logistically, he deals with all the routes and everything like that. But like when it comes to the actual jobs themselves, like, all right, I need this truck at this job doing the stone for this and all of that, that's all on me. So like when he tries to chime in or come in on that, then it makes things a little bit awkward. But yeah, when we first started, he was just like, I can't do it. And we just basically both sat down and realized that like I was trying to chime in on his stuff and he was trying to chime on my stuff. And I was dropping the ball because I told him from the get-go, like, I don't want to do the email or any of that. Like I'm horrible at it. So like I obviously had my own email. So like there would be customers that would email me and I'd be on the job and I wouldn't be able to get back to them. And then they would email him and be like, yo, you told me to email him, but he hasn't responded to me. So then we started going out and I said, from now on, everything, because we have an office manager too. So everything goes through Lauren. Once it goes through Lauren, it goes either to my stuff or that stuff, but at least it's documented. And we set reminders in the software that we have so that when I do forget, because it happens frequently, that it reminds us like, all right, we forgot to do this yesterday and now it comes back today. So we've worked it's taken years, but we've worked all the little kinks out. And again, he does what he does. I do what I do. And so far, like I said, it's worked out great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it could be super positive experience to have somebody that is also as invested as you in the business, but you kind of recognize what each other's skill sets are. So yeah, I mean, so now do you feel like you finally have it like really integrated and both of your companies are like really now one and you have all of those systems figured out? It sounds like you have it dialed in pretty good with the office manager and kind of like the lines of communication. I feel like that's the hardest thing to really like fully integrate is where does this client come in? Who does it go to? And make sure that stuff doesn't get make sure the ball doesn't get dropped at some point. So do you feel like you really have fine tuned all of that?
I mean, there's good and bad. So like there's sometimes that I'm on a job and people get mad at me because like their next door neighbor come out and they're like, hey, we want you to give us a quote or whatever. And I'm like, I'm going to forget. I'm in the middle of doing something. Just call the office. And people are like, well, you're standing right here. Like, why can't you do that? And I'm like, no. We have, like you were just saying, we have a procedure and agreement now. Everything's got to go through the office. I know I'm standing right here, but we have to do it this way. So call the office. When I have time, I will come out and give you a formal estimate and I'm give you my undivided attention. Right now, I'm trying to talk to these guys or load this truck or do whatever. And I will forget or I will drop the ball and then you'll get mad at us. Like, at least if we do it go through the proper channels, you don't have to really worry about that. But
yeah, for sure. I can definitely relate to that because, and Catherine can kind of back me up on this.
I feel like you and I are kind of somewhat similar in that regard.
Yeah, for sure. So like I won't, she'll handle all the inquiries that come through because I mean, number one, I'll forget to get back to people, but more than that, like, you know, we have things put in place, like as far as like where we'll work, what type of jobs we'll take on. And like, I can just end up getting excited about, oh, this job sounds cool, but it's like way outside of our working range. And I'll be like, all right, well, let's entertain it for a little bit. So I had to like completely step away from that because it was just problematic. And, you know, when you have two people kind of handling the same inbox, you know, it can just get like confusing. Like, oh, I was emailing this person and then like you hopped in and chimed in and responded to one thing. So that's definitely something that we can relate to. And I try to just kind of like stay in my lane whenever I can and not cause issues because it's easy to do that. So it does sound like everything with working with a partner is going really great, but what's something that you miss about being the sole owner of a company?
Saying no. Well, yes and no. So I think because something just popped into my head that I think is very important to especially guys just starting out. And it was one of my biggest downfalls. And I feel like hopefully Catherine is that person for you, where Mike is that person for me. Like, you are a design person. So like, you want to ultimately bring your design to fruition 1000%. And you might have an idea or might want to incorporate something that might cost more or might not be in the budget, or something the customer really can't swing, whatever the case may be. Well, I'm that guy. I can't tell you, when I first owned everything and did everything myself, like, oh, I'll throw in those landscape lights, or, oh yeah, you want a second set of stairs? Yeah, I'll just throw those in, and this and that. And it's like, you need someone to ground you that is totally removed from the situation, because you can lose. I mean, yeah, it might only be $400 or $500 today, or $1,000 that week, or whatever. But like, when you add that up over the entire year, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars that you're either leaving out on the table, or you're losing out on, or potentially you agree to do something above and beyond and just throw it in, and then it turns into a nightmare, and then it's going to cost you even more.
Yeah. I totally. I can, first of all, I can totally relate to that. I do that all the time. And what I always kind of tell people, especially that are just starting out, is it's okay sometimes to go above and beyond and throw in something like an inlay or a cool feature or something, as long as there's a purpose behind it. It shouldn't just be so that the client is super happy and you just gave them this big thing for free and you worked all this extra time and because you're proud of it. Like, I mean, there is something to be said for that, but it should be for a certain reason. Like, we'll throw this cool feature in because we'll be able to get really great pictures of it, and then we can use that to market to our next client, and it's helping us to build this brand. So in that scenario, the client and you are both getting something out of that arrangement, where they're essentially getting something for free. But where people really go down a slippery slope is you start doing that on every job, and there's no reason behind it. It's not like a piece of the puzzle to get your brand where you want it to be. It's just, you're just doing it, and you really can just lose a lot of money, or, it's like, what do they say? Death by 1,000 paper cuts. What's that saying? Catherine, you know.
I think you're pretty close. I think it is paper cuts.
Well, yeah, we'll just say
death
that.
by 1,000 something. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. It's like, it's all this stuff's kind of falling through the cracks. Like, money is kind of leaking out of your company, and you don't even realize it because it's happening little bit by little bit, and it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it can be. So it's probably been great for you to have somebody like that is like, no, this is our system. This we have to stick to this. And I know you have an obligation to stick to it because there's somebody else involved as well. So, but yeah, I could totally see you missing just being able to be like, you know what? No, I feel like doing whatever the hell I want today. And
exactly. Well, and to a certain extent, there is times that I have, but like when there's a clear change order, like there is no, you know what I mean? So yeah. I would say that is one of the benefits in it. Meaning that, like, again, having someone to ground you and say no when it's like that little person on your shoulder or whatever. One of the downsides is it's basically how it's ultimately structured. So we kind of haphazardly did it. Like I said, the first year we're like, all right, let's see how it works, whatever. But like, especially with like social media coming in, it's like, all right, I have arrangements with some companies and some brands or whatever. Like, ultimately that's helping the company, but it's now split, but yet it's me doing all the work for it. So it kind of complicates things slightly in that regard. But again, for the most part, most people on the social media side of things or people that don't have social media don't really have to worry about that. If that makes sense.
For sure. And that's something I want to kind of move into next, because
nice segue, Matt.
It really was. Really, this is not your first time doing this. I think it's, if I'm right, it's your third podcast you've been on. So
number 3.
Perfect. You're blossoming so well. But moving into the content side, I'd say we got to know each other a lot more once you started like jumping into Instagram, and that's probably because you started hitting me up more, and we're like, I remember the first time was like, hey, will you, we went out to lunch and you were like, asking me a bunch of questions about it. You really wanted to get like more involved into the content side of things. And, that was, what was that? That was probably it might have been 2020 or 2021.
Yeah, that's right around there.
So you were really just kind of starting out with that. I think it must have been after 2020 because you were doing a lot of like the construction side of things. What was the, like, why? You know, you kind of had a lot on your plate already. You were into this new business kind of relationship, all of this stuff. Like, what was the reasoning behind, okay, I want to like take this more seriously? Or was it just, you know, you wanted to have fun with it? Like what was why did that kind of change happen that you wanted to grow it?
Well, I didn't want to grow it at first. So when I first started, I've said it a million times, I think because I only have, the reason I know this is I think I have a screenshot of it. I had 288 followers because it was my personal page. So it was just friends and family or whatever. And I started posting time lapse of like the jobs that we were doing. I think one of the first jobs we did during COVID was an outdoor kitchen. So like I was just doing that and people seemed to like it or whatever. And then when we decided to start getting into the decks and outdoor living, I went out and bought a trailer. Unbeknownst to me, and again, this was way before social media and before I knew about being a fanboy or the different brands of tools. Like I truly used all DeWalt, and then I had issues with the batteries. So I bought Milwaukee because I told the guys, roll mean stop. That's literally how I bought Milwaukee. And then when I did my trailer, I was like, I want it neat and organized because I know how my guys are. If it doesn't have a place for it to go, it's going to be scattered all over and we're going to spend a half hour looking for it. And we're never going to know which pack out it was in, whatever. So I organized the trailer. And I think ultimately that is kind of what put me on the map. Again, I didn't know about the whole Milwaukee groups and all that are just obsessed with them. But that kind of really resonated with people and took off. And then once that kind of started happening, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. But so then it went from basic time lapse or like, hey, guys, this is the deck we built or this was the patio we built. Then it became like tools and equipment and making fun of different tool brands and stuff like that.
Yeah, for somebody that says like, oh, I didn't know, you know, fanboy about a tool. That's like your thing is like tools and, you know, what tool you're using and what features it has and how many RPMs or amp hour.
For the record, I've never once said that. Never said any specs.
In so many words, yeah. I feel like that's what comes across to me at least.
You don't care about tools. You're a design guy.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, this drill works. It spins around and it sinks a screw, and that's good enough for me. But yeah, I remember that meeting, and I think this is a good kind of like case study for people to look at because you were really just starting out, and you were like, you know, I want to do more of this. Like, what should I do? Like, how, you know, what type of videos like are most popular, and how do you do all this stuff? And I remember what I said was like, I know what works for us, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Like, you got to figure out like, what's your thing? Like, design is my thing. That's the thing that gets me all jacked up and jazzed up. So a lot of our content is based around design ideas or, you know, something that we're doing on the job that I'm really excited about. But you're really into the tools and all that kind of stuff. And obviously, you know, you have a lot of other interests in the field as well. Like, you know, you get hyped up about some design stuff as well. But, you know, I was like, you just have to find out what's your voice. Like, what is your, if you're going to create content online, what's your brand going to be? And, you know, ultimately, you know, I think you fully embraced that. And it's like, yeah, there are a ton of people out there that care about tools like you do. I'm particularly not one of them, but there's millions of people that do. So like, you're just authentically talking about something that you're passionate about. And then the other people that are passionate about it out there are going to latch onto it and are going to, you know, want to be part of this like community that you're building. So I think it's just a good lesson in being authentically yourself and embracing what you're passionate about, because there's going to be an audience for that. And people will be able to see if you're faking it.
Oh, 100%. So we always joke, which again, whatever, 3-4 years later, nothing's really changed. Like, I think I have gotten slightly better, but my monotone and like, hey guys, this is what I do. This is how I do it. Like, that's just how I am. I'm not going to come on and be all loud and whatever. And I forget, somebody told me once, like you just said, like, just be yourself, because some of those times, like, they're going to meet you out in person or one of these trade shows or whatever. And like, they're going to be like, dude, that's not what I was expecting at all. Like, you know what I mean? So like, I'm this when you meet me, I'm this on camera, I'm this on social media, I'm this, whatever. But the one thing that for people starting out on social media, obviously being yourself, being organic is crucial. But I will say that one thing that kind of hindered my, well, I don't even know if, whatever, just what, I'm all over the place. Clearly, my brain doesn't, is just, so I'm posting tools one day, or I'm posting how-tos one day, or I'm posting my trailer another day, or I'm doing plumbing one day and a deck another and cutting grass another. Like, I am all over the place, but all my thing, it says whatever, anything inside or outside the house, and maybe occasionally a laugh. But with your content, like, you know what you're expecting, right? So the guys that followed you and want to learn different techniques and different designs and different elements and textures and all these things that you offer, like, that is what you're going to get on your page. And that's why I feel like you have good engagement, opposed to someone like me. Like, I can post a whatever Halloween decoration and I get 3,000 views and 0 comments and 5 likes. You know what I mean? Like, people that follow me and want to learn about tools don't give a crap about a Halloween decoration. You know what I mean? So like, I'm all over the spectrum, and that's not the type of content that you post, which again is, nothing's wrong with that. But I feel like I've had some reels do super viral and I've gotten whatever 10, 20,000 followers from one video, but where are they? You know what I mean? Like, they follow me for that funny video or that trick or tip or whatever, but that's not what I consistently post every day. So they just kind of drop off, and they probably honestly forgot they even started following me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of people want to like jump onto some sort of viral trend, and they want to like create this like viral kind of, you know, hit to gain followers and gain interactions and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, if it's not really part of the brand that you're building, then just like you said, you're going to get these people that maybe latched onto this one video, but it's like, those aren't necessarily the type of people that you want following you, because they're not going to like everything else that you post. And that could be somebody that really wants to, you know, create content as part of, you know, more part of their job, or it could be a company that just wants a bigger social presence to get more customers. Like, you really have to think about, is this piece of content that I am creating and I'm posting, what's the purpose of it? Is it to, you know, is it going to teach my potential clients something about us and why they should hire us? Is it going to assert our authority in this field and make us look like we know what we're doing to our clients? Like, I think some people don't really think through what is the purpose of the thing that they're posting. And there always should be, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be the same thing all the time, like, you know, very, you know, pigeonholed, but it should all be part of that same story. And even though you do post a lot of different stuff, that is kind of part of your story. It's, hey, everything inside and outside. And, you know, you will see you doing some electrical work one day and some plumbing.
You had to
next,
throw that in there.
And, you know, whatever. But I think there's a lot of people that, you know, want to maybe learn a little bit about a bunch of different things. And, you know, some videos are going to be hits, some are going to be misses, because you're posting a wide variety of stuff. But I think it still does speak to the brand that you've created, which is we're going to show you a little bit of everything, which I think is cool.
And I think another thing is like, obviously our company isn't on there. We don't have any phone numbers. We're not trying to solicit for new business, anything like that. So that's why I feel like I have a little more freedom to be a little more silly and goofy and do some of the off the wall things that I do, because it's just me. You know what I mean? So like, we're not representing a brand. I'm representing myself, but we're not representing the company or anything like that. Obviously, if that, like, I was in your shoes and I'm branded myself and my company and I have employees that I got, like, I wouldn't do half of the stuff that I do. You know what I mean? Because that's like, if I tell a customer, hey, check us out on social media, and I'm posting some of the stuff that I'm posting, they're gonna be like, this dude's off the wall. Like, you know what I mean? So I think it really depends on the audience that you're trying to get and what you're ultimately trying to get out of the experience. Where, again, if you're representing your brand, you're trying to promote, you're trying to get new jobs and new leads, you need to be a little bit more professional and stay in line and do what you do. You know what I mean? Opposed to stuff that I do.
Absolutely. But I still think that it can be a little bit of both, because I think we definitely post a lot of stuff that's silly and goofy and, you know, like trying to scare each other on the job site or whatever it may be. And we're
trying to install trusses on your shop and garage with ants.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Stuff like that, because we do want people to see that. Like, we get all of our clients through social media, pretty much, like 99% of them. But that is how we're going to be when we're at your house. So we want people to like see that. And we don't want them to be surprised when we show up and it's like, why is somebody in a ghillie suit hiding in my bush trying to scare somebody else? Like, we want people to know that, hey, I'm hiring these people, and yeah, it looks like they have fun at work, and you know, they're a little bit goofy and unconventional sometimes, but check out what they do. It's awesome. You can tell they're passionate about it. Like, that's the brand that we want to create. So you want to make sure that the expectation is there for the client that, hey, what you see online, like if you're going to use your social media to gain customers, like if you act really professional on your social media, then make sure you're professional on the job site, because like you want those two experiences to be consistent for the client. But if you are the type of person that is going to be goofy and joking around with the homeowner and stuff like that, which a lot of clients prefer that type of experience. They don't want this really like cold professional experience with a contractor. A lot of people want that more personable relationship. So like, show that. You just have to decide which one you are and make sure that you're consistent in it.
I agree. Yeah. So like, I'm just thinking something on the top of my head was, it was like, whatever, I don't know, let's say in August when it was like 120 degrees, it was 100% humidity or whatever. And I asked my customer, cause obviously doing a lot of work at their house, like customers ultimately become your friends, right? So like they get a little preview of you on your social media, and obviously working with them, you can kind of get a preview of them, but at least they know what to expect, right? So when I went to my customer and I was like, do you mind if I just jump in your pool with all my clothes on or whatever? And they're like, have at it. Here's a towel. Like, they knew that from watching my stuff that, again, I've never jumped in a pool before, but I'm just saying, just being myself and being silly and obviously filming it for content. And they love that video and they commented and shared it to their stories and everything like that. But I just think being yourself and knowing what, like you just said, that your customer knows what to expect, I think goes a long way, because you're there for 3 weeks, 3 months, whatever the duration is. So it ultimately, they become your friends. So you need to have a good relationship with them.
For sure. For sure. So being that you have grown this following, you know, what's the best thing about being so visible online, and what's the worst thing about having
Catherine smiling? How far do you want me to go?
As
Whatever
far as you want to go.
Yeah, whatever you want. This is
I want to hear about the feet pic stuff or whatever.
Okay.
You've gotten way weirder stuff. I've gotten some weird stuff, and you have surpassed my weird stuff by a mile.
You've gotten weird stuff too. I've never gotten anything. All right, so we'll get into it, and then I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah. So I think some benefits are, obviously, it goes without saying that potential brands might want to work with you, whether it's product or, in my case, tools. And it's, in my eyes, beneficial in both aspects, right? So whether you get tools or product and then you display it and basically use it to that benefit, to promote them. But one promise I made to myself was that I would never do anything for a paycheck or free stuff or whatever. Like, I need to truly stand behind it and believe in the product. That's why I don't show a certain tool brand. But other than that, yeah, I think that being visible, and also like there's people all over the country, all over the world that I talk to almost on a daily basis that they are going through hard times. They've gone through breakups. They've gotten beat on jobs. They've lost money. They whatever the case may be. Like they got their van stolen or their truck broken into. Like I think it's really cool that like we all are going through things, and rather like back in the old days, but before pre-social media, like you just have to suck it up and get through it. Like now it's like guys have done posts and brands have reached out to those people to replenish their tools or whatever the case may be. I think social media in that aspect has come leaps and bounds, that we all kind of band together. We all help each other out. We're all there for each other. Again, I get DMs all the time asking for advice or people that I can help out or whatever the case may be. And I think that's really cool. Again, all over the world. It's not just in our local town or whatever that we would typically have. So I don't know if you want to jump on that one before I get into all the nitty gritty.
No. I'd say that sounds like some great positives about it. So let's hear what are the worst things about having more people see your face on there?
So yeah, just to go on top of that one more time, and we just got back. Sean and I were just at Deck Expo, and I think that's really cool that like there's
Catherine
guys
was there too.
Yeah, well,
What?
thanks.
Catherine was also there.
Sean and Catherine Premier was at Deck Expo.
You said me and Sean were
And
both at Deck Expo. Catherine was also there.
All three of us
Jeez.
were at Deck Expo and had a great time. But no, it's the bonding experience with everyone, hanging out with everyone, again, all over the country. Actually, as far as, Canada, whatever, let's say North America, that, like, again, it's almost like they're old friends that you haven't seen in years, but you probably, some of them you haven't met before, but once you actually meet them, it's like, again, you've known them for years. So it's really cool doing the trade shows and seeing all the guys and gals, and getting to know people personally.
Yeah, for sure. You're not going to get that type of like camaraderie or community locally typically because like, what are the chances that all these people that are passionate about the same exact thing? So that's always the best thing about trade shows for us is just you get to be around a bunch of like-minded people in this very like niche thing that you're into, like building decks and patios. Like that's the only place you get to really be around a lot of people that are also as hyped up as you. And you always leave like, feeling really passionate about it and inspired. And yeah, I've had that experience so many times where it's somebody that I've been talking to on social media for years. And then you see them in a trade show and you're like, oh man, good to see you again. And then it's like, wait, hold on. This is actually the first time we've ever met. That seems weird. It feels like I really know you. And that's something that's great about social media is the community building on there. But without further ado, let's get into the bad stuff. We want to hear about it.
You want some clips? All right. So the bad stuff. I don't know if it's just the way I talk or the way I look or things I do or whatever the case may be, but I have a outstanding time attracting very, very, how do I say, deranged individuals. So over the course of, keep laughing. All right. And part of it, and I will say that part of it's my fault because I look at every single DM that I get where I feel like a lot of guys have like that request folder on the right side. They never even touch that. Right. So like, I go through all requests, all general, all primary, everybody, and some of the stuff that I get will blow your mind. And again, they're all from guys. I've gotten like DMs from girls like, hey, my friend thinks you're cute or whatever. Like, click on this link. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. But the very, very graphic images of private parts and cross-dressing and wearing women's lingerie. I have all of it, Catherine. I'll text you when we hang up, but you can just scroll through all this and
wild.
Have content for days. Yeah. So I've had people send me pictures of below the waist, front and back. And yeah. I've had pictures.
Right, I think we get the picture here.
You asked for it. So anyways, I've gotten very disturbing pictures. People have said some very disturbing things to me, things they want to do to me or with me or whatever the case may be. And then, which Catherine's favorite, I posted, because I wear a lot of Keens, so I was posting some boots one day, and somebody said, how much would you sell them for? And I thought they legit just wanted to buy my boots, and then a little light bulb went off, realizing they didn't want the boots for like to wear them. And then I had a picture of Darn Tough socks, and someone asked me to, I think I had two. One asked me to wear it for like a week while sweating in them and Ziploc bag and mail them to them. And the other one just asked how much to buy them. So, yeah, those are just some of the few that are on the top of my head that I did not prep for, but I'm sure I could find some more if you're interested.
It's all very fascinating. None of this has ever happened to me. To be fair, I guess we recently there's like a request folder, and then there's like also one that's like
hidden requests.
Hidden requests, and I didn't even know that was there. And then I feel like we found that, and we like kind of scrolled through it, and there was like, I don't know, thousands, and they were all just like spam, like, I don't know, like, hey, click this link for my pics. Or whatever. I don't know what that actually is.
I just blow them up. Those I get all the time. And then it's like the group chats with the So those you just delete right away. But the ones that are clearly sent directly to you, those are the ones I tend to look at.
Wow. That's I'm I don't know, I'm a little
You jealous?
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Whoever's listening right now, start hitting on Sean. Well, Catherine reads half of them too, so that's not fair.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Catherine's probably gotten a couple. There's been a couple comments.
I've definitely had people like ask if I have an OnlyFans, and like I've definitely had like that kind of
Nobody's
messaging.
asked me that.
I've never had anybody ask to buy my boot stuff, but
I'd sell
if
mine.
the price is right.
Well, and that's legit. Every answer I get, everyone I tell, they're like, "Dude, did you sell them?" I'm like, "No," but they're like, "Why not?"
An offer?
Yeah.
Was there any monetary?
I think 300 was the one of them, but I didn't pursue any other ones.
It's not really worth it.
No.
Yeah, 300's that's a little too low.
Especially because with like tracking or return addresses or phone numbers, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
So like, kidding aside, obviously this is somewhat serious. But other things that like I personally know people that have their first and last name on their page. And with Google nowadays, you can literally find anybody that have left for vacation or posted it to their stories, and their houses have been robbed. Kind of like what's going on with the NBA and NFL right now. It's just, you can't be too safe in my eyes. So, yes, a lot of this is joking, but the other thing is like we post when we're going to trade shows. So, like, regardless of how protective I am around here, like, it doesn't take much for one of these weirdos to come to a trade show, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say that's one of the downsides to having your face out there. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, so I think we've covered that plenty. I think we can
we can chop that up a little bit and take some of that out.
I think we should lead off the episode with just that clip. I have a great ability of attracting deranged people. Good skill set to have, I suppose. All right, so why do the content? You know, you have a business that you have to run. You have a lot going on day to day. You know, you're managing a lot of different things. You know, do you plan to, you know, is there a goal in mind to continue to grow that where it becomes a larger part of your business as a whole? Or is it, you know, something that you just want to keep pursuing for, like, you're obviously obsessed with tools, so you get free tools and you love that. You know, you get to meet other like-minded people, which is a really cool thing about it. But, you know, what do you have you created kind of a vision of where you want that to lead, or is it you're just kind of doing it to enjoy it and it's just kind of become part of what you do?
That's a very good question. And I think in the next month or two after the holidays, I'm going to really sit down and think about it because, I'm obviously the way I look at it is I need this for this to work. Right. So it's not like I could just stop building or doing what I do and just 100% content. That day will never happen. That day will never happen. But I think that I am now at a point. What did I do?
You just like looked away really quick, and I just imagined that one of your inbox people had
people were right here.
Like found you.
Is that going to be your cover photo? Just no, Daddy, no.
All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, so I can't do this without this. So I'll always be working. Number one. Number two, with ADD, like I can't sit still. I truly enjoy, as of right now, doing the content, whether it's funny or educational. I feel like I'm benefiting somebody somehow. I don't know exactly, but I will say more recently, I am overwhelmed. So I think that I need to cut back on the amount of yeses I give. Which is 100% my fault. I need to, as you said, I think in one of your questions on Friday, was you need to learn how to say no. I need to do that. So I think ultimately over the next month or two, because we're going to slow down unless it snows, I'm probably not going to be working. I need to really focus on what I want, like you said, where I want this to go, how much time I dedicate. So fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not married and I don't have kids, so I can basically dedicate a lot of time. But I do plan on starting very soon. So if that's the case, I don't want to deprive potential future children or a future wife of time, because you know how much time it takes to edit, to post, to respond to DMs and emails and comments and try to crop clips from Instagram and put them to YouTube or vice versa. Like it's essentially a second full-time job that I need to figure out exactly which direction I want it to go.
Yeah. I think that's like the thing that you said about, you need to cut back on the amount of yeses that you give. Like that's something that I think everybody kind of struggles with, especially when you start when people start asking you to do stuff. Like, when I started, nobody was asking me to build their backyard, or now we sometimes go to trade shows and have like an obligation. Like when no one ever asked you that, like when they start to, it's like, oh, this is so exciting. And it's like, it's a really cool feeling. And you feel like you've worked towards that as like sort of a goal. And it's a little bit of recognition for the work that you've put in. But quickly, you start to, get overwhelmed if you give too many yeses, because people will just, take all of your time away, and you really need to be more protective of your time. And that's something that I really struggle with as well, because most of these opportunities, they are exciting, like just going somewhere to meet people, or, when people say, hey, we've got this really cool job that we want to do, even though it's an hour and a half away, I'm like, oh, wow, that does seem exciting. So one thing that I try to, I read this in a book called Anything You Want by Derek Sivers. So a little book plug there. If it's not a hell yes, it's a no. So I always try to like kind of lead with that. And I don't think I'm at the point where, I'm getting so many offers to do anything that it's like, okay, I could be that selective about it. But I just think that mentality you have, like, what am I gaining from this? Like, is this helping me grow as a person or as a business owner, or is it adding value and enjoyment to my life to say yes to this? Or is it just, I feel like I can't say no? So that's something that I still struggle with, but I always try to remember that saying, it's not a hell yes, it's a no. Because otherwise you're just overwhelmed with the commitments, and I'm habitually overcommitted to things, and then you get all stressed out and you can't really enjoy the things that you say yes to, because you're like, oh my God, I got 50 other things to do. And, all that stuff, mental health wise and brains and, gosh.
I think something to piggyback off of that is when you're talking about the hell yes or whatever, and I totally just lost my train of thought. Keep that thought. Catherine, you can edit this, right?
Sure.
Nope, it's gonna ride. It's gonna ride straight out. So, all right, don't worry about it. It must not have been that important.
No, it was. All right, keep going, and it'll come back.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I think we kind of talked about that stuff enough. Do you have any hobbies?
Well, it just came back to me, but yes.
All right, let's go back to
No, I don't want to talk
Breaking
about my
news.
hobbies. Yeah, I don't want to talk about my
Breaking news,
hobbies because I've asked you for 4 years now to go golfing. Every time you post when you used to go, what? No.
Have you? I don't know. I have no time for golfing. I don't do golfing a lot.
No, when you did. I was like, when are we going golfing?
Oh,
So
well.
I thoroughly enjoy golfing,
Okay.
but I don't golf as much as I like to. Would be pre-COVID, I golf twice a week. Post-COVID, I've golfed probably 4 times in 4 years.
Same. Yeah. It's not something that I enjoy that much where like my time is very limited now, especially with a 3.5-year-old, like to get 4.5 hours away to just do something random like golf. I feel like I would just rather do something else. So it's
Well, not even that. I think you could relate to this, that obviously Saturday and Sundays in your case is family time. So like that's out of the question. So the only time you could go is like Monday through Friday. And at least in my case, when I shut my phone off for 4 hours, the enjoyment that I had or thought I had in those 4 hours, as soon as I turn my phone back on, immediately gets wiped away. And it's just putting out fires or answering these calls and these emails, and it's just a miserable remaining 4 hours.
Yeah, usually when I do end up turning my phone off, I turn it back on and like everything went fine. It's usually like I've gotten out of the way, and but I just like being. I just like.
All right. Let's go back 3-4 years ago.
Yeah,
it probably wasn't the case.
What, golfing specifically, or like putting fires out and stuff like that.
When life wasn't as it is today. Because of certain wonderful employees you brought in over the years.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you go back far enough, it's like, well, if I'm not there doing anything, then nothing's getting done, so there's no fire to start.
Or they try and then they do it wrong, and then you got to undo what they did and put it back.
Yeah, I feel like I never really did too much of that. Like I've always just kind of been on the job site. I'm not like the times that I used to go golfing was like when work would be slow, or or when I used to have like weekends to just like do whatever I wanted. I feel like one thing I really regret not doing more of was napping. I wish that I would
a good
really
nap. Mid-Saturday nap.
Napping. Oh my god, it's the best. But
the best.
All right, well we can go golfing sometime. No problem.
Okay.
No problem. I didn't know. Sorry.
As we're going into the winter months, but I'll take you up on it next year.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. Well, you count me in for that. So what is besides golf? Is that like your way of blowing off steam? Is there any other hobbies that you like to do? Sounds like you probably don't have a lot of time for hobbies, but
no, I think I would say golf is the relaxing aspect, but unless I'm working in some capacity, I don't know what to do with myself. Like I can't just sit down and watch TV or play. I mean, what we just started doing was puzzles. I will say that. I'm not kidding. I'm saying that. Something about that, like, it's frustrating, but it's like you got to do the edges and then you got to match up the colors or whatever. So that's like kind of like a new thing I got going on.
That's like one of the most wholesome things I've heard in a while.
That is so nice.
I mean, this is humiliating to admit. I don't know where my phone is. I think my screen time was like, and again, this isn't just all social media. It's obviously work stuff too, but like it's up to like 8-9 hours a day. Like that's unhealthy. You know what I mean? So like to put the TV away, put the phone away, put the tablets away, whatever, and just play with a puzzle, like, I don't know. I feel like it's disgusting how much time I'm on these devices. So
it's definitely not healthy for anybody, for sure. And I think like things like doing puzzles or there's just like a mindful aspect to it. Like it can be meditative to do things like puzzles or drawing, or there's a lot of different things that you can do besides like straight up meditation that will give you similar benefits, and just like to be singularly focused on something without jumping around all the time. Like when you're staring at your phone, you're like, oh, this thing, let me open this app and then go check my email and then bounce back and forth. And that's obviously not good. And for somebody like me and probably somebody like you that, has that ADHD kind of energy, it kind of just like adds fuel to that chaotic energy, and it's not great. So good to hear that you found something that you can kind of lean on to kind of unplug and de-stress a little bit. So,
well, I call it, so I don't know how you are, but like when I get home from the day being amped up, adrenaline, whatever, like I feel like I call it my decompress time, like I either, which is sad, but like I'll just sit in my truck, for a couple minutes and just like woo-saw, or it's like you come in and just, just you need to, as high energy, high amped up that our days are, you need just a little like just, whew, For
sure. All right. Well, I think, we've covered a lot here. There's definitely more that we could get into, but I think we'll kind of wrap it up around there. Catherine, you got anything else? You want to, any last minute things, tidying up, cleaning out the junk drawer for Mr. Matt here?
Is that a P&S reference?
Preston and Steve?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, little junk drawer. Okay.
There you go.
For sure.
No, we covered everything on my list, but Matt, how do people find you? Where do you want people to send you those weird requests to?
Working with Matt on all platforms.
And
so
you're working on growing your YouTube, right? That's where
I'm trying,
and
so
go follow him on YouTube.
Yes.
I think that's something he's gonna be contemplating over these next couple months.
Yes,
whether he wants to invest more time into it or not. So,
all right,
there's a lot of time.
Let's see what he decides.
Follow him on there, and then you'll see if he starts posting more stuff on there.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, well, I know that you apparently like to or are very diligent about getting back to people, so people can reach out to you. Instagram is probably the main one that people would reach out to you. So check them out. You can learn a couple things, maybe get a laugh or two, I believe is your tagline. So, yeah.
Anything inside or outside, an occasional laugh, something along those lines.
Very rarely laugh. I get very occasional.
Because you never watch any of my stuff, and you're laughing right now.
I always do.
You've commented one time in 4 years. See? Look at all the laughs I'm getting right now.
I'm a lurker. All right, well.
Watching from afar. I got it. You do see every story, though. I'll give you that.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a supporter. And anytime you call me, what do? I answer and I give you whatever advice I can, or I say, I don't know, man. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Or you say, you can do the design. You don't need my help.
Well, yeah, that's true. I always think, you just got to believe in yourself. With the right attitude, anything's possible. So.
Anything's possible. I think that's a great line to end on.
I agree. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, working with Matt. And
Thanks, Matt.
we'll see you around. We'll see you around town or whatever.
I'll see you later.